Well, Cleveland's meeting yesterday was more exploratory in nature. They were just kind of getting to know each other a little bit. They didn't talk hard business or numbers. But the reality is that Wilson stands as really the number 2 in Pittsburgh and New York as we await a decision from Aaron Rodgers, who appears to be, by everybody I've talked to in the league, the number 1 option. And so Wilson has always looked at the Giants, though, at least for the last month, as a viable option for himself. So it could shake out the way he expected.
All right, so Wilson was 15th in the league with 7.4 yards per attempt. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. What are you hearing about his talks with teams as he contemplates his future?
Well, from what I'm told from a source with knowledge of the situation is that Rodgers has offers from both Pittsburgh and New York. As far as everybody knows, he has not made any sort of firm determination on which offer to take. I don't really get the sense that this is all about the money. Certainly it's about fit, ability to win. Both areas, Pittsburgh and New York, have something to offer that are a little different. The prevailing theme from talking to people around the league is that Pittsburgh's the better football decision. New York might be the better decision for sentiment. You know, he was in New Jersey the last 2 years, has a home there. New York's a big marketing hub. So certainly a lot of things that Rodgers is likely weighing. And I checked with somebody with the Minnesota Vikings. I know they are sort of loosely in this thing. I talked to a source who said that it's possible, but probably unlikely at the end of the day because the Vikings are dedicated to J.J. McCarthy's development first and foremost.
Maybe that door still being open, like you saying, it's possible, is holding everything up with the dominoes. Rodgers, by the way, 8th in the league with 3,897 pass week after a career year in Minnesota. Darnold officially signing a 3-year, $100.5 million deal with the Seahawks as Seattle's replacement for Geno Smith, who's now in Vegas with the Raiders. Here's Darnold on his new team, including a reunion with offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak.
There's variations of the same system that kind of go around the NFL, and being in one of those last year and kind of getting to morph a little bit of that with obviously most of the stuff that you know we did in San Francisco, and then I know he grew on his system a little bit last year in New Orleans. So again, just very, I know I keep using this word, but very excited to just get rolling on kind of what this system, what the offense is going to look like next year.
Got the flannel on, ready for the grunge scene in Seattle. So the Seahawks are officially in the Sam Darnold era. But before this, they were talking to Geno Smith about potentially those Seahawks about a new contract, and then things fell apart. Why didn't it work with Geno Smith in Seattle?
Well, I think Seattle fundamentally misunderstood the quarterback position and the quarterback market. The belief is clearly that Geno Smith is a quarterback that in order to win a championship, he needs to be surrounded, good offensive line, good receivers, needs to be supported, and that Sam Darnold's the same guy. Got to support him, get the good players around him. So why not save $10 million? Why not get the third-round pick and move on to Darnold? The issue with that paradigm is that every quarterback needs a good offensive line to win a championship. Every quarterback needs good receivers. Ask Patrick Mahomes against the Eagles what it was like to play behind that offensive line. In Geno Smith, you had a player who, despite firing your last 2 offensive coordinators, despite having one of the worst pass-protecting offensive lines in football, showed you he could be that caliber of player. In Sam Darnold, we just a minute ago saw this in the best environment in Minnesota with an unbelievable line, with great receivers, with Kevin O'Connell. The chance that he's not that guy, that he actually crumbles back to old Sam Darnold levels, is very high. It's so much risk relative to the reward of $10 million per year and a third-round pick. I think it's an egregious team-building error in Seattle.
Hey, Ben, we just got some breaking news. Now, you talk about who Sam Darnold's going to throw the football to. The news just coming in. Cooper Kupp is now going to Seattle. So he's going to stay on the West Coast here, the 31-year-old. What do you think of this fit, him going to Seattle and joining this offense?
The best slot receiver season in the NFL last year was Jackson Smith-Njigba, and his year producing out of the slot was the most productive in the last 3 years since 2021 Cooper Kupp. We have 2 unbelievable slot receivers and nobody to play the outside. So I understand the attraction of Cooper Kupp. He can take a lot of volume. You can throw him a lot of passes, right? And they need that. They have so many passes to go around now with Metcalf out of the building, with Lockett out of the building. But I don't understand structurally who's going to stand where in this offense. Remember, Clint Kubiak with the Saints was a 12 personnel coach, 2 tight ends. They don't have 2 tight ends. I get it because he's one of the best players available. but I don't understand how this is going to look on the field come September.
Again, we've heard this thing from Peter Rosenberg, and he nailed it. The best thing for the Seahawks this week is Mina Kimes won Celebrity Jeopardy.
Heck
because
yeah.
what are the Seahawks doing? If only they had DK Metcalf. Oh, they moved him. Ben, thank you, sir.
All right, let's go to the NFL, Kevo, where Pro Bowl defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence bolted Dallas after 11 seasons, signed a 3-year, $32.5 million deal with the Seahawks, and his decision-making process throws maybe just a little bit of shade on a Cowboys franchise that hasn't won in 30 years.
Dallas is my home. I made my home there. You know, my family lives there. You know, I'm forever going to be there, but, you know, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
Okay, needless to say, not everybody liked those comments. It started a little bit of a back and forth with former teammate Micah Parsons, so we're going to like cosplay. I'll be Micah Parsons. This is what rejection and envy look like. This some clown-ish.
Now, Tank responded with a tweet. Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Now, there's layers to all this, El. We all know that.
There's always layers to all this.
It's Micah responding on social media, but it feels like Tank was telling the truth. In that locker room, some guys, they start talking when they leave. Are they talking in the locker room that they're not happy?
We love social media beef because it's not real. But you know who is real? Our senior NFL reporter, Jeremy Fowler, who's getting a little bit of a chuckle from our back and forth. We love the exchange there with Delon Parsons, but let's talk about like the brass tacks here. What is the latest on Parsons' contract talks with the Cowboys? He's caping hard for him.
Yeah, El, this is why I love to stay off social media if I could, but I have to follow all the NFL news and all these deals, and eventually that will include Micah Parsons and a mega contract. Look, when you talk to people with the Dallas Cowboys, they know that around the league do believe that Dallas will get this done because they have a penchant for paying star players. So the expectation is that he will have a very big contract in the next 4 to 5 months, maybe something with a 4 in front of the first number.
Okay, maybe flying under the radar because of all this back and forth is that the boys did reunite with free agent pass rusher Dante Fowler Jr. today. He had 10.5 sacks last year in D.C. Another player that's looking to get paid, looking for a team, possibly the Cowboys, is Cooper Kupp. What's the latest on his negotiations with teams?
So I'm told that Cooper Kupp is still weighing his options. No firm determination yet, but teams are expecting a decision soon. I'm told to watch out for the Seattle Seahawks. They remain firmly in the mix here. They've been in contact with Kupp. They've sort of sold a vision on how they could sort of coexist in his next NFL chapter. So they're in it. The Denver Broncos have checked in on it, but it might be a little rich for their taste, a little steep financially. From what I hear from teams is that Cooper Kupp is hoping to keep sort of the same structure he had before as a highly paid receiver. He was due $20 million in cash with the Rams before they released him. So that could be a sticking point for several teams. New Orleans Saints also a team to watch out for here.
Maybe a sticking point for some teams, too, is that Kupp has not played a full season since he won the Triple Crown back in 2021. And with all due respect to Cooper Kupp, the receivers that are looking for huge paydays that we've been focusing on, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. What's the latest there with the Bengals?
Yeah, well, so reports came out today that the Bengals are getting close to mega deals for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now, Bengals executive Duke Tobin has said that Chase will be, from them, the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So that's going to take a deal around $40 million per year. That is the expectation, that they can get somewhere around that sweet spot to get a Chase deal to the finish line. T. Higgins, I'm hearing, will be lower than that, but somewhere in the high 20 millions per year. These will both be very significant investments from the Bengals, who also could turn their attention to Trey Hendrickson. I'm told that they have tried to kick up talks with Hendrickson's agent in the last few days. So their plan all along from the beginning of the offseason is to get deals done for all three of those superstars.
And just a reminder for the folks at home, the Bengals did tag Higgins for the second straight season, and if they can't get a deal done with Chase, he's set to become a free agent in 2026. Jeremy Fowler sticking around, talk more NFL.
New York, Daniel Jones never really lived up to being the sixth player drafted in 2019. The Giants cut him last year. Now he's got a one-year deal with the Colts and a chance to show that he, not Anthony Richardson, who was drafted fourth in 2023, is the quarterback of the future. Today, Jones asked why it didn't work in the Big Apple.
There's a number of reasons, and you can certainly go back and look at those, pick those apart. I think, reflect on that, see where you could have done a better job, see where you could have, obviously played better and helped the team out, in more situations. So I'll always do that. I'll always look back at those things, but, grateful for my time there, grateful for the experience, and excited for this opportunity.
All right, so here's the situation now. In joining Daniel Jones to the incumbent Anthony Richardson, the Colts now have two quarterbacks with the worst touchdown to INT ratio over the last two seasons among quarterbacks with at least 15 starts. Jones had thrown 10 touchdowns and 13 picks. Richardson just better with 11 touchdowns and 13 picks. It was the season of giving for them as it continues here with NFL analyst Ben Solak joining us now with much more. What can we expect? I mean, what can we expect from this quarterback competition? I mean, a lot of picks. Is that defense of the Colts going to thrive in practice? We just saw those numbers.
Yeah, I think it's sadness, right? I think that's what we expect from a Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson camp battle. The future with the Colts, like the good outcomes that help Chris Ballard keep his job and help Shane Steichen keep his job are probably still with Anthony Richardson, right? Putting together a Bryce Young-esque recovery, second half of the season moving forward. But he's not going to look better than Daniel Jones in camp because camp is all about accuracy and execution, and Jones is more accurate than Anthony Richardson was. Lowest completion percentage last year, lowest expected completion percentage this year. Richardson's the deep ball thrower. Daniel Jones is the dink and dunk player. That player tends to look better in camp. And so I expect Jones to outperform Richardson, and then I expect it to be a debate as to who plays, because Jones is going to get 4 games. He's not going to look that great. Richardson's got to go in. He's going to have 2 nice throws and a losing effort. It's going to be a mess. This is not a good quarterback competition to have if you're Indianapolis.
Jones, one of those guys, New York quarterback trying to rehab his career. It has worked out for some, like, for example, Sam Darnold.
Để móc lần lượt này là được. Mình sẽ móc tiếp những mũi tiếp theo nhé. Còn một chút xíu nữa thôi là sẽ xong rồi.